Just one of those things where it's just like, okay, I mean,
I would argue though that the bulk of people are attending it. They're not making a big deal out of it. They recognize that it is the massive, quote unquote, the mass of the ages, and that everybody prior to Vatican II attended that mass.
okay, he has a whole thing about the Vatican II versus Latin Mass thing.
He's not out. He's not. That's my assumption is what he meant. It's
No, because
not
he has a
outright.
whole thing about Latin in
He
this,
does. Yes.
in one of the letters. And okay, I'm sorry, controversial opinion here. Controversial opinion. I honestly do not understand the obsession with Latin Mass because I honestly,
Have you ever been to one?
dude,
I'm just curious.
I've heard in Latin before. Yes,
Have you been? But have you been to a Latin? I'm just curious.
Not in forever. I've definitely been to one when I was younger with my dad. My comment is this, Chris. My comment is this. To me, it comes off kind of like a mysticism novelty right now because Latin is a dead language that no one ever freaking hears. So they go and it brings the feeling of ritualistic religion. It brings the feeling like you're, I don't know how to describe it, but like, yeah, ritualistic religion. It makes you feel like you're doing something ritualistic because it's reserved for this. It's like an enchantment vibe. Okay. Like it comes off like that more than it being something specifically special because it's still words. It's freaking words. And it would go completely against the whole concept of what speaking in tongues was supposed to be, where everyone could understand you no matter what language they spoke. When you spoke, they all understood you perfectly in their own
Speaking
tongue.
in Latin is not Latin. Speaking in tongues.
No, I'm saying, okay, saying that Latin Mass is specifically special, inherently special, goes contrary to the concept of people in the Bible who spoke in tongues and communicated the word to everybody because they all heard it in their own language.
I mean,
right?
this is a debate I did not expect to get into on this channel,
I'm
but
just saying.
the main arguments for the Latin Mass are that when all the masses are using the same language, it's a universal. Everything's the same. You can go anywhere. It's the same thing. There's no misunderstanding. There's no miscommunication because everybody's saying the same words in the same way at the same parts of the mass.
That's just a complaint about a shitty. That's a complaint about a shitty translation. That's it. It's not, the Latin itself is not special.
It is. Well, the other half of it is that the church did it that way for roughly anywhere between 500 to 1500 years, depending on where you draw the origin of it from.
Okay, I'm just going to say this. If someone does not know Latin, they don't understand Latin.
That doesn't
Latin,
matter. It's there. The
yes,
prayers.
It does.
You don't. Honestly, it does not actually matter if you know Latin.
Dude,
like if somebody, let's put it this way. If I go to Brazil, probably a terrible option for you because you're going to be thinking about other things. But if I go to Brazil and somebody speaks a different language and they want to pray with me, if we both know the prayers in Latin, regardless of our level of understanding of Latin, we can pray together.
I'm just going to say that
it's considered the universal language of the Catholic Church.
If someone doesn't know what is even going on, like, I don't know, man.
Then they have a bad formation in their catechism.
Yeah, I'm just making the comment that if they don't actually know the Latin words that are being spoken.
Well, here's the other thing. When you go to a Latin Mass, most people, if not everybody, will have what's called the Roman Missal. As the English and the Latin side by side, you can follow along, no problem.
I don't see what makes the Latin. I don't see what makes the Latin Mass special.
Well, it is. There's a lot of things to it, but one of them is it takes you out of the day to day. You're not in English. You're in Latin. You go to there, you recognize right away that yes, this is something special.
But my point is this, Chris. The reason there's a Latin Mass to begin with is because Latin was the language of the day to day.
It was back then. I'm not disagreeing with you,
which means
it became the language of the church.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is though, the intent of that prayer isn't to be kept behind this language that is no longer the day to day. It's literally meant to be the language of day to day. It's not meant to be fancy like that. It's I'm just saying that more people are all about Latin Mass. To me, I interpret it as because of the mysticism slash novelty of the Latin.
I would argue that it
More than
depends
any.
on your intention by attending that mass. Are you attending that mass and making an idol of tradition, or are you attending that mass because that mass is what brings you closer to God?
Yeah, and I feel like personal opinion, a lot of the influencer crowd that has gone all out in for Latin Mass, to me, comes off as though they are making an idol out of the ritual.
There, you could also make an idol out of the new mass too by claiming that it is superior.
I didn't say it's superior. I just said that there's nothing special.
I'm just saying, like, realistically, you can make an idol out of anything.
You can.
And that is the danger of the human condition. We are just inherently fallen in a way that we can make idols out of everything.
Yeah.
And
that's true.
Some people make idols out of their children. In fact, a lot of people do.
A lot of people do.
Some people make idols out of, I don't know. People make idols out of video games. That happens. Yeah. That's a danger. People make idols out of.
You've seen how many Star Wars nerds there are out there on the internet.
There are people that can recite the entire history of Star Wars and not know a single page of the Bible.
Like, man, think of how many people learned Elvish.
Yes.
Okay.
Tolkien invented his own form of idol worship on accident.
Yes.
Because people are obsessed with it.
I'm just saying, like, the recent obsession over Latin Mass is just one of those things where it's just like, okay, I mean,
I would argue though that the bulk of people are attending it. They're not making a big deal out of it. They recognize that it is the massive, quote unquote, the mass of the ages, and that everybody prior to Vatican II attended them. And so if that helps them in their faith to go to that, or some people even believe that there are errors in the new mass, like if that's how you feel, then definitely attend the mass where you believe it's real. Like if it's real, it's real.
It comes down specifically to the motivation, but
I would agree. Yeah, it absolutely does.
He describes it in the one letter was as if it was like inherently special because it's Latin.
Well, what can you give me the chapter? I'm just.
I don't remember on this one.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna look up Latin real quick then and see if we can find it in here.
Because it's one of those things where it's always about how special Latin is. That's one of the things I found.
0 results.
What the hell? No, it's totally in here.
Huh?
I don't understand what it's searching for because he totally mentions the Latin.
Maybe it's only looking on this page. I wonder if I'm not searching the whole book.
Because you remember seeing Latin in here, don't you?
I know that it maybe. Let me see with language.
Maybe he doesn't explicitly.
He doesn't call it Latin. He says ancient language.
Yeah.
Who actively advocate against the ancient languages. Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing is like the more time you translate something, the more likely you're going to find error. So like, even I just look at the Bible translations, for example.
Oh yeah, no, I agree.
There's a lot of issues with modern Bible translations.
I agree. I was just saying that the way, because that speaks to another thing where, because his take on this is going to be controversial. Even my point on here is he's going for a niche audience. Like the niche of niche, even in Catholic circles.